Okay, everyone, I'm going to do a closing market video. It was Fed day today. I said I would do something if we have any real changes. We don't really have any major changes, but I do want to point out really how the market closed and look at kind of what's going on. I'm only going to touch on the market indices in this video. We'll look at the dollar and gold. I'm not going to go into really any individual stocks just because there's just not a whole lot that changed. And again, what takes place on Fed Day is, usually you don't want to read too much into it. It's better to look at what happens kind of the following day or the remaining of the week. So what Fed Day can be very whippy, and you can get a lot of mixed signals, and the algos kick in, and they're a lot faster than people, and they just basically try to scalp money. So let's look at but it's something to note. Let's start off with triple Qs. You can see bearish rising wedge right here, negative divergence. If I go to the daily here, you got negative divergence still there. Everything still remains intact. On the daily here, we had the big impulsive breakdown or sell signal on this rising trend line here. Now, we didn't have follow through. There wasn't a confirmation on the sell signal, but this was a sell signal. Confirmation ideally is what you want to see when you get like a doji candle or an outside day or some sort of breakdown candle. This was a break of trend line support. So we get the break, that's a sell signal, and then you get the kickback rally. Now, where did the market rally to? Let's look. Triple Qs basically just popped slightly above that previous high right there. So I think this is a new high, a new all-time high in triple Qs. It is. So we have a slightly new all-time high, a marginal new high. And if you narrow it down, you also have negative divergence kind of on the shorter time frame. Looking right here, you can see there's negative divergence as well. So it's not telling you that, the divergences can continue to build and extend, and they can just continue to do that. But it's telling you that there is less momentum on this new high. All right. The other thing to look at on the PPO is the other day on the sell signal, we had a bearish crossover. So maybe this is a whipsaw signal and it crosses back bullish. That's possible. And obviously this could have just been a false breakdown. But I'm not so sure. It's still undecided. We're still within the area where, they closed it right up here. You run a bunch of stops, you get people out of the trade, and then you reverse it. So I would expect a reversal really tomorrow. Let's look at the hourly here. You can see on this bearish rising wedge. Yeah, I could move my trend line up. I could kind of adjust it. But basically, we broke to the downside, did a kickback rally, and then the last half hour, last candle of the day, they sold it down. So again, we're in the area where this could easily start to sell off and reject, and I would look for some sort of a gap down tomorrow. That's what I think is going to happen. Again, that's a micro call, so it's the smaller in a call that you go in the shorter time frame, the harder it is to be accurate. I put those calls out for everyone here just to give everyone my read on the market. Doesn't mean I'm going to be right in the short term, but that's what I see. I think, possibly we get a gap down tomorrow. Let's look at the NQ. You can see here on NQ, bearish rising wedge right here on the hourly chart. And they gapped it up above. You can see at one point in the day, the futures were way up here, but they, at the end of the day, sold it down and pretty much closed basically within that wedge. So still there. We'll see how the futures open up here in a 10, 15 minutes. I suspect they sell off and start to move down bearishly through this wedge, and we start to sell off. Again, another micro call, but that's kind of what I see there. The S&P 500, nothing really happened. You can see here it was basically flat today. Ramped up, sold off, really just closed flat. And the small caps were down slightly, and triple Qs was up slightly. But if you look at the S&P 500 heat map, you can see here that the only thing that was really moving higher today was two stocks, Microsoft and Amazon. And they weren't they were just moving higher, and they're so heavily weighted that they can kind of make the market kind of look more bullish than it really is. If you look at the other stocks, a lot of stocks are either flat or down. I think there were actually more stocks in the S&P 500 selling off than there were going up, but because of these heavy anchor market weight stocks, they keep the indices up even though other stocks are selling off. And so that's really what we saw. That was really the price action, was two stocks really kind of moving higher, and the rest of the market kind of flat to down. But the indices didn't do much. So let's look at gold. Gold closed basically right at resistance. Now let's look at the daily here. On daily, we don't have negative divergence. We don't have bullish divergence. We have basically momentum moving. It was moving down. Now it's moving up. And here's your price channel. So this is basically what we've been walking down. We fell right down to support, major support right here. And maybe we break out here. I don't know. We closed right at resistance right there. But if we get a breakout, I think it's likely that that's going to be a one that sticks. But I'm not so sure we're going to get the breakout. I think it's very likely that the gold sells off. The dollar here, the thing is, the dollar, closed right at support. So technically you can see nothing really changed today. We had the dollar closing at support, keeping the divergences intact. We had gold closing at resistance. We had the triple Qs basically, if you go back, closing within the wedge, kind of, right at the top end of the wedge. So they're leaving us guessing for what we wake up to in the morning. I think we wake up to a gap down. That's what the chart kind of tells me what's gonna happen. But again, it's a micro call, so let's just wait and see what we got tomorrow. And I'll leave it there. So thank you, and catch you guys on the next one.